So I have a little bit of time now to talk about how all of this started. And I decided to share this partly because I was listening to Joe Rogan and how Aubrey de Grey decided to do something important at an early age, but he wasn't sure about what he wanted to do. Well, I knew what I wanted to do at the age, as I was saying, I knew what I wanted to do at the age of 4, standing at my father's grave. I knew that death was wrong at that time, and I knew that I had to find some way to stop it. And everybody I asked about God and questions, nobody had the answers. You see, I saw my dad's death ahead of time at the age of 4, and I actually tried to stop him from going the night before his accident. And I've been seeing ahead of time since I was a small boy. I don't want to mention too much at this time about my background, but I will mention that my dad worked for NASA on the Apollo rocket, and that at one point he was recognized, at least by some, as saving the Apollo mission. My grandfather was the prime minister of a country. So that's my background, and at the age of 4, I already knew what I needed to do. And I was asking questions about God and free will versus predestination at the age of 4, because I was wondering how I could see ahead of time if the future didn't already exist. And if the future already existed, did I have free will? So I didn't have a childhood like most have, because I was grappling with these questions, and I wasn't able to relate to a lot of people because nobody else seemed to be interested in answering these questions. Most of the kids were just simply having a good time, and they weren't concerned that anybody was going to die, that their parents were going to die. They were basically protected from that, or screened from that, and they were able to have what you might call, I don't know if the word normal is a good word, but they were able to have a relatively peaceful life. I know others have lost their parents at an early age, and that makes it tough, but with that additional element of actually seeing my father's death ahead of time, and then realizing or questioning that perhaps the future already exists, perhaps things are predestined, and if they are predestined, how much free will do we have? And it took me a long time to answer those questions in a way that satisfied my intellect, and that is part of my book, and I address those issues, and the best answer that I came up with was in harmony with what Crowley came up with, that we predestine ourselves as God before we enter duality, basically. Once we're in duality as the individual character, we don't really have free will. The only way that we could have free will is by stepping out of time and space. Since that time, I have found that with magic, one can not only create one's future or affect the future, one can also change or rewrite the past. And that's probably the strangest, or one of the strangest things about magic is that you can actually alter the past with your spells and perhaps create a different timeline, perhaps several timelines. There's a lot of talk about parallel universes, and I've had some experience of those, but I think ultimately that all the parts of the universe are one, so all these different timelines, if they exist, are just one way of looking at things.